Welcome to Germany. I'm officially in Germany. She's sad because she's missing all these sights. She wished she could get off that station we just left. We're officially in Germany.
And it's gorgeous. Look that way too. Yeah.
German countryside. Oh, there you go. There's a German flag.
And there's people on boat trips.
Up, 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 up.
I'm on a boat trip.
Because we're too poor. Hey, we're here. Hey, we're here. Hey, say what up, Germany. Hey, finally, I've been waiting to visit Berlin or Germany, per se, for so long. And I'm finally in Germany. Got a previous glimpse at the German language in Austria, but now I'm in the real deal. You know what I'm saying? Hey. Guten Morgen. We are currently at Möckenbruck. That's a station name. We're taking the U-Bahn down to Alexanderplatz, where we will meet with our tour guides for the bike tour that we have booked for Berlin. See all of the touristy places. And she left. Hi. Guten Morgen. So, first morning in Berlin. I'm on a bike again in Berlin this time though. Going on another bike tour. See that? Going on another bike tour. Another bike tour. Another bike tour. Look, my bike has a name. Look, my bike has a name. Mr. T. Wait. I can't even focus. Hey, Joe. What's the name of your bike?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. Each bike has a name. Now I resonated with Mr. T. And it's blue.
Are we going on? Are we good? That was going on between East and West. So the Cold War was called the Cold War because there was not a shot fired. It was more a war of propaganda. Each side was constantly trying to outdo the other side. This relates to that in that this is the East Germans building a large, impressive modern structure to impress the Western world with the great things that they could do as a nation. You know, this is going to be very visible on the skyline in Western Berlin. There was one problem when it was finished though. There, you can kind of see there's a reflection of light on the side of the dome. When it's a very sunny day, that light forms the shape of a cross. A bit later on in the tour, if it's still sunny, we should be able to get a clearer view of this cross on the side of the dome. Now this was a problem for the East German government because they had banned the symbol of the cross from appearing in any churches during their reign. So when this cross appeared on the side of the dome, the Berliners started calling it the Pope's revenge for having banned the symbol of the cross. And this was embarrassing, so the government tried to get rid of it. They tried different panels on the side of the dome, different glazes, but try as they might, they could not get rid of this symbol of the cross from appearing. So in the end, the leader of communist Germany, at that time, a guy called Walter Ulbricht, he simply said, look, it's not the symbol of the cross, it's not the symbol of the cross, it's a big plus sign for communism. So that's how he explained that one away, guys. Vertwo, and there was a big, if you guys want to come in, and I've just noticed there's another tour group there, so I don't want to yell too much over the top of them. So this place is called Vertwo, and there was a big Nazi book burning here in May of 1933. Before I get to the book burning, I'll give you a bit of background about some of the buildings that we are surrounded by, because they were built by those guys that I mentioned at the last stop and in the introduction, the Prussians. Nazi book burning. So May the 10th, 1933, over 20,000 books were burnt right here in this square. And these book burnings happened all around Germany at that time, but this was the largest one that happened right here. And this was organised by the Minister for Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels. And he mobilised one of the Nazi student associations to carry out this event. So this building, was the city library at the time. So you can imagine the Nazi students coming into this building, grabbing book after book off the shelves, throwing them into this big pile and starting this big bonfire in the square. Joseph Goebbels himself was here, giving a speech, revving up the crowd, whipping them into a frenzy. Pretty grim time. A French name. I'll give you a bit of background on the square and you'll see why it has a French name. So it relates to a migration of a group of people from France called the Huguenots in the 1600s. And this group of Huguenots, they were a Protestant group and they were being persecuted by King Louis XIV because of their religious beliefs. So this is after the Reformation where the church split and there was religious conflict in Central Europe at that time. So
I know what it is. Is that okay?
could well be a hot water puddle. It kind of looks like one.
A fish?
I think, yes, it could be a fish as well. Atomic bomb. What do you think? Think about where we are. Yes, there you go, Germany.
Hey.
Got it. Only a little bit of coastline up here and a little bit up here. When we're talking about war and conquest and land grabbing, Germany is in a very strategic position, smack bang in the center of Europe. So I'm going to take you back to the end of the Second World War. So January, February 1945, you've got the Western Allies, the United Kingdom, the United States, France, many other associated nations. They are allied with the Soviet Union to defeat Germany. Now these two groups of allies, they don't really like each other. The Westernized proponents of capitalism, the Soviets proponents of communism, and these are two heavily clashing, heavily competing political ideologies. But they do see it as an alliance of necessity to defeat the great threat that is Hitler and Nazi Germany. And by the time we get to January, February 1945, it's pretty clear to everybody that Germany is going to lose the war. So they are trying to decide, the two groups of allies, they're trying to decide what should we do with Germany once we defeat them, once we win the war. And they decide to divide it up and look after different parts of it. So the Soviets, the Alps down south, and they find there's good skiing down there, there's good beer down there, so they're happy to stick around in that area. So they take that area. The British come into this area and they find it's wet, windy, cold, industrial, reminds them of home, so they're happy to stick around there. And the French get a couple of slices here as well. There we go. So that's how Germany is divided up. Now, there's one little problem with this scenario, particularly from the perspective of the Western Allies. Berlin, the capital of Germany, falls smack bang in the middle of the Soviet sector. So here's Berlin. Now this is not to scale, but that's Berlin just there. Now, this is a problem for the Western Allies because they are worried about this spread of communism coming from the Soviet part of Germany. And they see it as very strategically and symbolically important that they maintain some control over Berlin. The roads, rails and inland shipping lanes getting into Western Berlin, so cuts it off from receiving any supplies. The power is cut off in Western Berlin. He's basically trying to starve the Western Allies out of Berlin. What he can't do is, he can't stop the planes from landing or flying over Western Berlin. So the Western Allies begin what is called the Berlin Airlift, and they start airlifting 13 tons of goods into Western Berlin every single day.
The Berlin Wall. We're gonna go see the longest standing remnants of the wall down at the southeast end later.
The East Side Gallery, when the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, they commissioned 90 or even more than 90 different artists to paint murals all along that stretch of the wall. So you can walk along there and you can see all these murals relating to peace, reconciliation, reunification, various other abstract pictures as well. So well worth checking out if you are sticking around in Berlin for a little bit longer. So I can point out where that is on the map for anyone that is interested later on in the tour, guys. But I mentioned at the last stop about how Western Berlin was encircled by barbed wire. If you were going to escape over the wall, that was a good time to try and do it because there was just barbed wire. I mean, you still had to contend with a few soldiers with guns as well, but you know, maybe it's worth the risk for escaping into freedom. So a lot of people did just that. They just took a running jump, jumped over the barbed wire into Western Berlin, and they were home free. You're aware you're not allowed to stand on the blocks. You are allowed to sit on the blocks, but you're not allowed to stand on them, just so you guys know. There are like security personnel running around. This is the Holocaust Memorial, and the official title is the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe. And this was built in 2005, and it was built after a lot of planning and deliberation that already started in the 1990s. And they were trying to find the right place to build the memorial. They were trying to decide what form is the memorial going to take. There is also some discussion surrounding an idea of why not build one memorial that will encompass all of the groups that were persecuted and murdered by the Nazis, because it was not just Jewish people that suffered at the hands of the Nazis. Other groups such as the Roma and Sinti people, homosexual people, disabled people, Slavic people, Soviet prisoners of war, and then a group of people that, or groups of people that the Nazis labelled Untermenschen or subhuman, so drug addicts, alcoholics, homeless people, prostitutes. All of these groups also suffered at the hands of the Nazis and were also murdered by the Nazis. So there was some discussion surrounding an idea of why not build one memorial where people can come and pay their respects to all of these groups. But in the end, they did decide to split it up, and this is the Jewish memorial. There is a memorial to the murdered homosexual people in the Tiergarten over the other side of the road there. There is a memorial to the murdered Roma and Sinti people close to the Brandenburg Gate, a few hundred meters up the road there, and there are other memorials scattered throughout the city. Now this one was built by a Jewish American guy from New York called Peter Eisenman.
Damn.
Gate though, this is one of the most iconic sites of Berlin. Very famous spot. One of the most photographed sites in Berlin, as you can imagine. You know, it's on the backs of a lot of the Euro coins that come out of Germany. If you've been riding the underground metro in Berlin, they've got little stickers of the Brandenburg Gate plastered everywhere on the windows. You probably already saw an image of it before you even came to Berlin. So this was originally built as a peace gate in 1791 by one of the Prussian kings, and it was actually called the Peace Gate at that point. But in 1806, a little French guy called Napoleon invaded Prussia, and he conquered Prussia and Berlin, and he rode in underneath the Brandenburg Gate, and he took a look up at the goddess in the chariot on top there. She's called the Quadriga, and he took that down and he took it all the way back to Paris and put it on display in the Louvre. Later on, however, in 1814, the Prussians were able to gain their revenge over Napoleon, and they defeated the French. They pushed right through to Paris, and they retook their Quadriga, brought her all the way back to Berlin, and put her back on top of the gate.
Just along the road.
That's the Reichstag. Parliament, German Parliament.
Standing on an island in the middle of the river Spree, so the river that runs through Berlin. So one side of the river is just behind you, just here. The other side of the river is just behind the Berliner Dom here. And it does contain a lot of museums, so it really does live up to its name. So I'll start with this building here. This was the old, what used to stand there was the Prussian palace, and that's what they are rebuilding at the moment. So there was a palace built there as early as the 1400s. Each Prussian king would add and expand upon the palace. That stood there right through to World War II when it was destroyed during the war. And the East Germans did not have enough money to rebuild the palace. So that very beautiful church on the inside. You can also visit the tombs of the Prussian kings underneath the church, and you can climb to that top level surrounding the dome up there as well. It costs about €7.50 to get in, but you can do all that stuff for that price if anyone's interested in that. This building here, again, continuing with that neoclassical architectural theme. This was designed by the same guy that designed the concert house back at Gendarmenmarkt. You guys remember that building? This was built by the Prussians again as a museum, and to this day it still is a museum housing ancient Greek and Roman artifacts.
This is Yam, which is a community right by the longest, the Eastern Wall, you said? The East Berlin Wall, the longest standing remnants of the Berlin Wall. This is a bar. I guess a small community. It's like a Caribbean themed, African themed sort of thing. And it's right by the river, as you can see. This is the quote unquote beach area, which is very nice. It's just, look, it's got sand. We're not really dressed for the weather, but I guess once summer approaches, everyone's in their bathing suits and stuff. So we're trying to get food and then going to the East Berlin Wall. This is the East Berlin Wall. Eastern Wall, whatever it is. It's right beside the Mercedes Square at Mercedes-Benz. I guess they have an office right here. It's actually called Mercedes-Benz Arena, so I guess there's like an arena over there somewhere. I can't see it right now. But yeah, this is the longest standing remnants of the Berlin Wall. This is the side that you can actually touch. That you can actually still, put graffiti and shit in. The ones back there, for some reason, it's fenced in, and these are actual artists that painted it. Hey, look, Rachel, look. I agree. Look at this. I agree with that sentiment. Look again. Hey, wait. What does that mean? I thought it said Trump.
Das ist links. Und das ist rechts. Ja? Und Geradeaus ist straight on. Yep. Perfect. Geradeaus. And go back is zurück.
Good morning. We've reached the topography of terror. That is right there, right beside the Berlin Wall. That's what it says. And what they do here is they provide exhibitions of all the different types of ways the SS, the Gestapo, all the secret police, and everything related to Nazi Germany, how they controlled the people, how they were able to manipulate them, and the types of things they used as propaganda. Is that right? See? Got a busy day ahead as any other day during the trip. And so let's go in. This big ass place, rectangular. Oh, currywurst. First time having currywurst with Berliner Kilo. Some proper German food. I will try it now. Yes. I will try it now. Yes.
Oh, we just stumbled upon this alleyway that is extremely artistic. It's got things all over the place. And there's actually somebody painting it on the wall right now. My allergies are killing me.
Literally killing me right now. But this is nice at least. Nice food.
So we're kinda, we just came to hoping to get to the kebabs. This is the line. Like,
very good pickup. No, Timor. It's not good.
can you see this?
Stuff like that is like
We're gonna wait like an hour here. We're literally gonna wait like an hour here. I just want dinner.
like a bar. And if
I
it's a
want
bar,
dinner.
Timo,
Look
you
at this.
usually touch it. Show you
Wow. A lot of cops are here. I don't know what the hell's happening. I don't know if I'm allowed to film. I don't know. Jesus. It's like a cop truck thing. Finally here, I can actually see the ingredients. This better be fucking worth. Whoa. Just keep cutting that meat. Keep cutting that meat.
Hello, last day in Berlin. I fly to Rotterdam in a few hours. I've been feasting on ice cream all day, every day since coming here. Ever since I found gelato in Italy. I know it's not the same, but I'm taking a little relaxation walk. Ice cream just came out. Ice cream just came out. I'm filling my jacket. But I'll show you more. there's people that travel for a living, man. They save up all this money, or they choose a job that on purpose it would enable them to travel to many countries, either by working online. Everything is on a computer, so all you need is a laptop and an internet connection, or they, I don't know, somehow get some other means to fly and go everywhere. Me, I have one more stop left, yet I'm getting to the point where I'm getting really, what do you call it? I'm not homesick, but at the same time I'm exhausted. I know that a lot of traveling involves a lot of walking, a lot of running, a lot of biking, a lot of flying, a lot of train catching, a lot of boat riding. I don't know. It's just, it's hard, you know. If you have a budget and you don't have a lot of money to spend, you can only do this for so much. But it's not that, I don't think. I think it's more of getting tired of doing all of this. I miss home, but like I said, I'm not homesick. It's just, it's hard to describe. I'm not ready to go back home yet, but I'm afraid of what's to come in my life after this travel. And I'm surprised that I actually passed these videos to a lot of people I know, and whether I actually end up uploading all of these videos onto a public site like a YouTube or something like that, I don't know. But I got a lot of thinking to do over these next few days.
Thank you, Berlin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was wonderful to see you finally coming to the country that I really anticipated in going someday in my life. And you've been wonderful, so thank you very much. This is the kebab I got from last night. So it has deep fried assorted vegetables. It has zucchini, deep fried potatoes, lettuce, on top of the what you expect out of a kebab, onions, lettuce, everything, and then it's topped with, I think, feta cheese and with lemon juice. Apparently this is the best kebab in Berlin.